A woman who chooses herself is a force of nature, unstoppable in her quest to become the most authentic version of herself. When she decides to put her needs, her dreams, and her voice first, she transcends every barrier that once held her back. She no longer seeks validation from society, from relationships, or from the traditional roles that have been forced upon her for generations. She understands deeply that self-love isn't selfish. It is the foundation for everything she wishes to build in her life. By choosing herself, she finally steps into her power, and in that moment, she begins to shine in ways the world has never seen. She stops apologizing for being too ambitious, too loud, too emotional, or too different. She realizes that those labels were merely tools to keep her small, to keep her silent. Once she decides to embrace her boldness and her individuality, she becomes magnetic. Opportunities gravitate towards her. People respect her energy because they can feel her confidence radiating from within. She becomes the architect of her own destiny. She designs a life that is deeply aligned with her values and her passions. She doesn't settle for a mediocre job or a half-hearted relationship. She demands the best from the world because she offers the best of herself. Even when the path gets lonely or difficult, she walks forward with grace because she knows her worth. She understands that loneliness is sometimes a necessary chapter in the book of self-growth. She trusts her intuition, that quiet whisper inside, more than the loud opinions outside. She isn't afraid to say no to what doesn't serve her, and she isn't afraid to say yes to what challenges her and pushes her beyond her comfort zone. Choosing herself also means embracing her flaws, her scars, and her failures. She no longer hides them or feels ashamed. She wears them like armor, proud and fearless. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every heartbreak becomes fuel. She learns to see herself as a complete, evolving work of art, constantly refining but never needing to prove her worth. When she stumbles, she gets back up with even more determination. She doesn't see setbacks as evidence that she is unworthy. She sees them as stepping stones toward a greater version of herself. She becomes an inspiration to others, especially to those who have been conditioned to put themselves last. Her courage to prioritize her happiness, her mental health, her goals, and her voice becomes a powerful example. She gives other women permission to do the same. Her journey reminds everyone around her that when a woman chooses herself, she doesn't become selfish. She becomes whole, and a whole woman is unstoppable. Her light cannot be dimmed, her spirit cannot be contained, and her potential knows no limits. The world tries to put her into boxes, but she breaks every single one. The world tries to define her, but she writes her own definition. She leads, she loves, she creates, and she inspires, all because she made one simple but revolutionary choice. She chose herself. When a woman chooses herself, she does not just change her own life, she changes the world around her. When a woman embraces her individuality and stops apologizing for who she is, she steps into a realm of power that few truly understand. From a young age, society teaches women to mold themselves into expectations to be quiet, agreeable, pretty but not too bold, successful but not too ambitious. These subtle and not so subtle messages condition women to shrink themselves, to silence their true voices, to constantly apologize for simply existing as they are. But when she finally decides to embrace her individuality, everything changes. She no longer dims her light to make others comfortable. She doesn't laugh quietly just to seem polite. She doesn't hide her intelligence or creativity for fear of being called too much. Instead, she radiates her authentic self unapologetically, and this becomes her superpower. Choosing to be unapologetically herself means she gives herself permission to express her desires, her opinions, her emotions, all without shame. She no longer feels the need to conform to traditional roles or outdated stereotypes. Maybe she wants to lead a business empire. Maybe she wants to travel the world solo. Or maybe she wants to live a quiet life creating art, whatever it is. She owns it with pride. She understands that her uniqueness is her gift, the very essence that sets her apart in a world full of copies and expectations. By embracing her individuality, she frees herself from the exhausting burden of trying to please everyone. When she stops apologizing, she stops carrying the weight of others' judgments. She realizes that people will always have opinions, no matter what she does. Some will criticize her for being too independent. Others will say she's too emotional, too driven, too different. But she knows these labels are just reflections of other people's limitations, not hers. She chooses to define herself by her own standards, her own dreams, her own values. This self-definition becomes her anchor in the storm of external noise. A woman who embraces her individuality also inspires other women to do the same. Her courage becomes a living example that it is not only okay, but necessary to live life fully as oneself. She shows her sisters, daughters, and friends that they do not need to shrink or twist themselves to be loved or accepted. True love, whether from others or from oneself, only exists when we show up as our full, unfiltered selves. This boldness to stop apologizing transforms her relationships, her career, and her inner world. People begin to respect her more because they see her authenticity. She attracts opportunities and connections that align with her true self instead of superficial versions of her. She feels lighter, freer, and more joyful because she is no longer hiding behind masks. In choosing to embrace her individuality, she writes her own story, a story that is powerful, inspiring, and deeply true. She no longer needs permission to exist. She no longer needs to ask if she is enough. She knows in every cell of her being that she is more than enough, exactly as she is. This is the beginning of her unstoppable journey. When a woman turns her pain and failures into power and wisdom, she transforms her entire existence. In life, pain is inevitable heartbreaks, disappointments, betrayals, and moments when everything seems to fall apart. Many people let pain define them. They shrink under its weight and let it dictate their future. But a woman who is truly unstoppable chooses to see pain as a teacher rather than a jailer. She understands that every scar carries a story, and every failure holds a lesson that can become the foundation of her growth. Instead of hiding her wounds, she embraces them. She doesn't pretend to be unbreakable. She shows that real strength comes from being able to break and still choose to rise again. She learns to sit with her sadness, to feel her disappointments fully, and to listen to what they are trying to teach her. This emotional honesty becomes her superpower. By facing her pain head-on, she builds resilience. She understands that each time she overcomes a hardship, she becomes stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Failures, too, no longer scare her. Society often conditions women to fear failure, to see it as a mark of inadequacy or weakness. But she chooses to reframe failure as simply feedback. It's not proof that she isn't good enough, it's evidence that she is brave enough to try. She understands that each failed attempt brings her closer to her goals. Each no is a step toward a more meaningful yes. Instead of running from failure, she embraces it, learns from it, and uses it to sharpen her focus and clarify her path. When she turns pain into power, she reclaims her narrative. She stops seeing herself as a victim of circumstances and becomes the heroine of her story. Her challenges no longer define her in a negative light. They become the fuel that ignites her passion and determination. She starts to see obstacles as opportunities to learn more about herself and the world around her. Each setback becomes an invitation to grow, to adapt, and to rise even stronger. This transformation also allows her to develop deep empathy for others. She becomes a source of support and inspiration for those still struggling in their own battles. Her story shows them that it's possible to move from heartbreak to healing, from failure to success, from pain to purpose. By sharing her journey openly, she becomes a light for others walking through their own darkness. Ultimately, by turning her pain and failures into power and wisdom, she builds an unshakable inner foundation. She knows that no matter what storms may come, she has the strength to withstand them and the wisdom to navigate them. She doesn't fear the future because she trusts her ability to rise again and again. This is what makes her unstoppable. Her wounds do not weaken her. They are transformed into wings, carrying her higher than she ever imagined possible. When a woman empowers others by inspiring them to choose themselves too, she creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond her own life. She understands that her journey isn't just about her personal growth and success, it's about lighting the way for others who might still be trapped in self-doubt, fear, or cultural expectations. By openly living her truth, she silently gives permission to other women, and even men, to do the same. Her authenticity becomes a powerful example that it is possible to live boldly and unapologetically. She doesn't preach with empty words. Her life is her message. People watch her stand firm in her decisions, pursue her passions, and prioritize her happiness. They see her say no to things that drain her and yes to opportunities that ignite her soul. They watch her make brave choices, take risks, and get back up after setbacks. All of these actions send a silent but strong signal. You can choose yourself too, and you deserve to. By choosing herself, she challenges the old narratives that have been forced onto women for centuries, that they must always put others first, sacrifice their dreams, or stay quiet to keep peace. Instead, she shows that self-love is not selfish, it's essential. Her life becomes a living example that when you fill your own cup first, you have so much more to give to the world. She becomes a source of encouragement to friends, sisters, daughters, and even strangers who feel invisible or voiceless. Her empowerment is not about dominating others or proving herself superior. It is about creating a safe and inspiring space for others to rise. She shares her struggles honestly, showing that imperfection is part of the journey. She celebrates the successes of other women instead of competing with them. Her victories feel shared because she uplifts everyone around her. In doing so, she builds a community rather than an empire of isolation. She also understands the power of mentorship and support. She offers guidance, shares her lessons, and becomes a sounding board for others trying to find their own voices. Whether it's through personal conversations, public speaking, writing, or simply leading by example, her presence empowers others to believe in their own worth and potential. As more people are inspired to choose themselves, the collective energy shifts. Families transform, communities grow stronger, and future generations learn that they too are worthy of love, respect, and self-expression. In this way, her impact is multiplied 1,000 times over. A woman who empowers others by inspiring them to choose themselves too becomes more than unstoppable, she becomes a movement. Her courage echoes in the lives of those she touches, creating a legacy that lasts far beyond her own lifetime. She doesn't just change her own destiny, she helps rewrite the narrative for countless others, and that is the true definition of power. A woman who chooses herself embodies a rare kind of power that cannot be bought, taught, or faked. It is born from the deepest places of her soul, cultivated through countless moments of pain, triumph, doubt, and courage. When she finally steps into this power, she becomes a force that moves through the world with unwavering confidence and grace. She does not ask for permission to be who she is. She simply is. She does not apologize for her dreams, her desires, or her voice. Instead, she stands tall, rooted in her truth, embracing every part of her being with fierce love and unbreakable conviction. The journey to this place is not easy. It requires facing fears that have haunted her for years, perhaps decades. It means peeling away layers of conditioning, questioning the stories she was told as a child that she should be small, agreeable, silent, and self-sacrificing. It means breaking free from the patterns of seeking validation from others, of shaping her life to please society or family or friends. It means looking in the mirror and deciding that she is enough, exactly as she is, without needing to prove her worth to anyone. Choosing herself is a radical act of self-respect. It is declaring to the universe that her happiness matters, her dreams matter, her voice matters. It is choosing to listen to her own inner guidance over the loud, endless noise of expectations. It is realizing that she is not here to live someone else's version of life, but to create her own masterpiece. And as she begins to live in this truth, she discovers a freedom she has never known before. When a woman chooses herself, her entire energy shifts. She no longer waits for someone to rescue her, to validate her, to tell her that she is worthy of love and success. She becomes her own savior, her own champion, her own best friend. She learns to celebrate her own milestones, no matter how small they seem. She understands that self-celebration is not arrogance. It is an act of gratitude for her growth and resilience. She understands that her journey is unique and sacred, and that she does not need to measure it against anyone else's timeline. She begins to attract new opportunities, relationships, and experiences that align with her highest self. Doors that once seemed closed suddenly open because she is now walking in alignment with her true purpose. People who once misunderstood or underestimated her either rise to meet her new energy or naturally fall away. She no longer fears these losses because she knows that anything or anyone not meant for her highest good is simply making space for something greater. Her life becomes a reflection of her deepest values. She might choose to pursue a career that lights her up, rather than one that simply pays the bills. She might choose to travel, to write, to paint, to sing whatever makes her soul come alive. She might choose to become a mother or not, to marry or stay single, to live in a bustling city or a quiet village. Whatever she chooses, it is hers, and that ownership is what makes it beautiful and meaningful. The world around her changes too. As she stands firm in her power, she starts to inspire others to do the same. Her courage becomes a beacon of light for her friends, family, and even strangers. They watch her say no to things that do not serve her and yes to the wild, expansive life she deserves. They see her stumble and rise again, each time stronger than before. They witness her joy, her sorrow, her resilience, and they realize that choosing oneself is not only possible but necessary. Her story becomes proof that it is possible to live fully and authentically, no matter the obstacles. She becomes living evidence that a woman's power is limitless when she stops handing it away to others. Her existence alone challenges every outdated belief about what a woman should or should not be. She embodies the truth that vulnerability and strength can coexist, that softness and power are not opposites but complementary forces within her. In her relationships, she no longer accepts crumbs of affection or respect. She demands and gives love that is deep, true, and equal. She surrounds herself with people who celebrate her victories and hold her through her struggles. She becomes deeply connected to herself, and through that connection, she builds more authentic connections with others. She no longer fears being alone because she has become her own best company. Her solitude is not a punishment but a sanctuary where she reconnects with her essence. The beauty of her journey lies not in perfection, but in her willingness to keep going, to keep evolving, to keep choosing herself again and again. Life will continue to present challenges. There will still be heartbreaks, failures, and moments of deep doubt. But she faces them all with an open heart and a warrior spirit because she knows that she has already survived her worst days. She trusts herself to navigate whatever comes her way. Her legacy is not just the accomplishments she collects, but the lives she touches through her authenticity. Every time she encourages another woman to rise, every time she shares her story with vulnerability and honesty, every time she refuses to settle for less than she deserves, she is building a new world. A world where women are free to be powerful, to be loud, to be soft, to be anything they want to be. By choosing herself, she becomes unstoppable, not because she never falls, but because she always gets back up. Not because she is fearless, but because she chooses to move forward despite her fears. Not because she is perfect, but because she is real. A woman who chooses herself embodies a revolutionary kind of love for herself, for her life, and for the world. This love empowers her to rise above limitations, to break through barriers, and to rewrite every story that ever told her she was not enough. She realizes that the most important relationship she will ever have is with herself, and she invests in it daily. Her journey is a celebration of her divine right to exist as she is, to take up space and to shine unapologetically. As she moves through the world, she leaves traces of inspiration wherever she goes. In her wake, she creates a new generation of women and men who believe in the power of self, love, self-respect, and self-expression. She becomes a living testament to the idea that when you choose yourself, you unlock a life of limitless potential, boundless joy, and profound purpose. And so, her story does not end, it only grows, echoing endlessly in the hearts of those brave enough to follow her lead. This is the true power of a woman who chooses herself. She is, and always will be, unstoppable.